Good morning. Well, welcome to day 3 of the 28th Annual Caribbean Multinational Business Conference. We're just so delighted to have you here. And how was day 1? Did we enjoy it? All right, okay. We had some exciting times. And day 2 is going to be even better. Marva has assured me this session is going to be just great. We really want to thank you all for coming and to be a part of collaborating is a word, but also being a part of the vision and helping to mold and develop where we should be and how we should be working together as a people. So important. And we're just delighted to have you and hope that we will continue to push this on. Your moderator this morning is a good friend, Marva Allen. She's not only a good friend, but a dynamic publisher, business person, and one who saw the value of the conference. And we went virtual for a few years, and Marva and her sister Shirley Moulton came to Faye and I and said, we need to go back live. It's too valuable to be just virtual, and we need to make it happen, and happen this year. And we said to both, it's not an easy task, you know, doing an event internationally and with all the relationships we have, still it's not an easy task. And they both said, it's going to happen, and let's start planning. And so it was their push and insistence early that we're finally here. So Marva, thank you so much, and Shirley, and I'll now turn you over to her.
Hi everyone, thank you again, thank you for being here. It is really my pleasure to be a part of the Caribbean News family. We have been, my sister and I, Shirley, we have been the beneficiaries of this conference. In 1990s, we were here, and we met almost every one of our board members. At the time, we ran a big technology company in Michigan. And in our 25th year, of course, we were able to leave and do what we do now. But during that period, we met almost all of our board members here that influenced our growth significantly. And so when we realized that this conference was a place where you could not only find the right people, you could get the right information, we wanted it to continue. And when we talked with Mr. and Mrs. Rodney, we know that it was going to be a smaller event. It's usually huge, you know, and we knew that, but we also know that it was also time for some of our elders, including me, to pass the baton to some of our younger people to carry on this vision, because this is the place where you come to get empowered about who you are and who we are as a people. So I thank you all for being here. I now have the pleasure of introducing our panelist. We're going to say that Letitia was supposed to have been here, but we prefer her in New York with Donald Trump. And so we're that. Trustmaine is here, actually, on the island, but got diverted to Kingston because of the weather. And she'll be here later, and we'll make an opportunity for her to speak so that you can hear all about what could be one of Jamaica's great exports, and so on. But we have with us today 3 distinguished women. You've heard from them yesterday, but a little bit more in depth today. The Honorable Diane Abbott is a prominent British politician. She has left an indelible mark on the political landscape of the United Kingdom. As the first black woman elected to the House of Commons, Abbott has shattered barriers and blazed trail for future generations. Her lifelong commitment to civil liberties, human rights, and racial equality has garnered widespread recognition and positioned her as a leader advocate for change. Please help me welcome the Honorable Diane Abbott. Dr. Pamela Jolly, we book we're bookending. But Dr. Jolly is the founder and CEO of Torch Enterprises. Her singular focus is on raising the importance of the Black community, raising our economic power, and for us to understand. She has a big task ahead of her, for us to understand the power that is inherent in us. And so she left corporate America, Morgan Stanley's, the Goldman Sachs, and dedicated her life to empowering people of color in communities, passing the torch and building legacy wealth. And we know that wealth is not just about money, it's about everything else. It's about health, it's about social status, it's about all of the other 5 principles. And I know a lot of you have asked for her information, and that slide that she showed yesterday at the end was pretty potent, because it is the empirical evidence of our theories, right? So her book, The Narrow Road, was published by our company. And so if you want to find out more about all of her research and what she has done, the book is available anywhere books are sold, Amazon.com, Wordy.com, etc. And you will see some of the data that she has shown and will show in that book. It's called The Narrow Road. And welcome, Dr. Jolly. We're glad you're here. Our next speaker is Lorna Johnson. Don't you envy those arms? Hold them up. She's got the best arms in the world. That's all I have to say. And that's because Lorna was a runner who ran with Flo Jo. Do you remember Flo Jo? I mean, she's a winner all around, and we love her for that. She is the founder and CEO of LMJ Global Foundation. And that foundation was founded on the basis of her inroads into the healthcare system in Watts, giving back just like her mother. She's also going to be one of our authors in 2024 of a great book called My Mother, My Champion. And it goes to show how we influence our children to become what they become. What they see sort of is what they'll be. And so Lorna is going to share with us today. She has had quite a career, and she's also been nominated or appointed by Barack Obama to serve as the Presidential Advisory Committee on the Arts, and by the way, was responsible for Cicely Tyson getting the Kennedy Awards. And she also served as a member of President Obama's Advisory Board, the Healthcare Committee, and the National Finance Committee. She has served as past surrogate for former U.S. President candidate, Senator Hillary Clinton, and served on the National Finance Committee. Thank you and welcome to you all. Well, when I say women of power, I mean it, right? We have in the room these wonderful women of power. I have one question I wanted to ask them, because all of us get to a point in our lives where we say, what's my purpose here, right? Why am I here? And what are you going to dedicate your life to? Would you share with us the moment when you decided that you were going to dedicate your life to the causes that you have? And what was the catalyst for that? Honorable Abbott, would you please start and just take it along?
Hi, can you hear me? I can't say a single moment when I decided to become in taking my community forward and politics, but I would say in the 80s, when I first became in politics as a councillor at a local level, there were a number of currents, both nationally in Britain and internationally. It was a time when the anti-apartheid struggle was very important, and one of my heroines was Winnie Mandela. And Winnie Mandela was responsible for bringing the struggle against apartheid around the world, when her husband was sadly in prison. And I always say, without Winnie, I'm not sure people would have heard of Nelson. The other current that was there at the time when I first decided to go into the community and politics was the Black Power, current in the United States. And one of my heroines of the time was Angela Davis. She was a hugely impressive figure for me because although I would call myself a feminist, there's a lot of white feminists I couldn't necessarily relate to, even though I supported what they were arguing for in principle. So Angela Davis was very important to me. So it all came together in the 80s, and I was elected to Parliament in 1987, and I had to fight a great deal of ignorance. I remember being in my first year in Parliament, and I was standing in a queue in a cafeteria behind an MP from my own party, and I said to him, "Oh, what are you doing for Christmas?" And he said, "I don't know, I'm going home, I'm doing this and that." So then he turned to me, and remember, this is an MP from my own party. He turned to me and said, "What are you doing for Christmas?" And I said, "I'm going to Jamaica." And he said, "Do they celebrate Christmas in Jamaica?" And that's the level of ignorance when I first began as a member of Parliament. So anyway, a number of things came together, and I came into politics.
Ms. Johnson, would you share with us your...
Good morning, everyone. Well, today I sit here with profound admiration for the incredible woman who have not just left a mark in history, but has also touched me personally and has helped to shape my own being. And of course, yesterday we spoke about my mom. I am truly my mother's daughter. And everything that I've done, it was through her that I was able to discern certain things and people and gravitate to these people that I was able to rub elbows with. And so I would like to share with you a few of these people who have somehow touched me in different ways. From my personal experience in running track, as Marva mentioned, I qualified for the Olympics in the 100-meter dash, 11.4 seconds. At that time, that was great. Today, I would be left in the dust with technology. So, you know, but for that time, it was good. And I was able to train with Flo Jo. I was a teammate of hers. As a matter of fact, my fastest sprinting in the 200-meter was running against her. But we trained together. We had the same coach at one time when I was in the United States. So from track and field to personal experience in rubbing elbows with political leadership, I've been privileged to witness the transformation of power of some remarkable women. And so as we explore stories of some of these women that left indelible mark, let us celebrate the legacy of our own former Prime Minister of Jamaica, Portia Simpson, who, as Simpson Miller, who herself journey exemplify resilience, breaking through glass ceiling and paving the way for what I hope is a future where gender should not matter. And we're hoping that we're moving towards that direction of leadership. As we move into these world spaces, I would say another person that really influenced me a lot, and you all, I'll refer to people that are commonly known in this room, was Oprah Winfrey, who I happen to have met. So all these people that I talk about are people that I've somewhat rubbed elbows with and who I admire, truly admire. Oprah, one of the things she always talk about, we all know who she is, media mogul and, you know, speaker and motivator, influencer, and all of that good stuff. Oprah once says, we want to hang around with people whose cup is full. You don't want to hang around with people whose cup is half full, because the people whose cup is half full will pull you down and try to pull you back. But when their cup is full and running over, you want to be around them so that overflow will come to you. And so these are some of the people that I truly, truly admire. Another person that I talk about is Melinda Gates, who I served with on the UN Foundation for Women and Girls. Of course, one of my passions is motivating women and young girls to dream and to be all that they can be. Melinda Gates is another person that I admire, of course. Another country person, another islander, is Rihanna, a young woman. Of course, you know her great work as an entertainer, singer. She is an entrepreneur. So I broke it down in categories of business and entrepreneurship, of which I consider myself to be a fairly decent entrepreneur. And so I look at her as a young billionaire who's also giving a lot back and is able to, and she's a country, like I said, she's from Barbados, so she's one of our islanders. Taylor Swift, everybody knows what she did recently. As a businesswoman myself, I admire her because of what she did recently. She gave $55 million to all her workers after the big tour that she did and made probably billions. She decided to put aside $55 million, which probably was still not much, a tip in the bucket for her, but she did it. And she gave back to all her employees a little bonus for the work that they have done. Talk about Beyonce. You talked about uplifting blacks. That's one of the things that she does in her work. She's always doing creative things to uplift and inspire black people. Women in politics, Mia Mottley. Mia Mottley, who is brave and bold enough in Barbados, to move us, yes, to move her country into a republic, removing it away from the monarchy. That's a woman of power and strength and determination to stand by and didn't care what happened, because she was on a mission to make that change, and she did it. And I hope that a lot of Caribbean islands, people of the Commonwealth, including Jamaica ourselves, we've been talking about it, but we need to really do something about it. Hillary Clinton, who I worked for and work with, she said at the United Nations, the 4th UN conference in Beijing, 1995, she said, women's rights are human rights, once and for all. So, we are appreciative of people like that. And of course, our own Jamaican, Kamala Harris, who is now the second most in leadership in the world in terms of the United States as a vice president. And she's one of her own from parents. Father here is from Jamaica. Ketanji Brown Jackson, another black woman, first woman in the Supreme Court. So I could go on and on in different categories. Let me move to STEM. We have another black woman, African-American woman, mathematician, who played, oh, by the way, who have ever watched Hidden Figures? I've ever seen it, right? So we've been around for a long time, and I'm focusing a lot. I will, have a mix in here, but I also focus a bit on people that look like us, right? And Hidden Figures is something that we've been doing great things for a long time, never got credit for it. But it's coming out now, and I'm hoping that will change. Mae Jemison was the first black woman, another woman that really inspires me. I have a little nephew who is into aviation and airplanes and all of that good stuff, so I had to bring Jemison in it because it's somebody that I've also met, and because of my young nephew and his aspiration for aviation, I thought she would be a good one to talk about. Kesimi Kia Corbe, who was instrumental in COVID-19 vaccine. Of course, I'm in the healthcare space myself, so these are all people that I can relate to. And we have, so many others that I could get into. Let's see. Women in sports, okay. We have our own Marlene Addy. She was around during my time, so I have to give credit to Marlene Addy. We call her the Bronze Queen, because for some reason, she never got the gold in the Olympics. She would run all these different races, but she never gave up, and probably one of the longest and older serving sprinter ever in the world that still had a lot in her at a very late age in her life. So, and of course, I have to take my hats off to my teammate and partner, Flojo, as we talked about earlier, that I trained with together. So I have so many wonderful people in my life. Alice Brown, who also another sprinter. We've been to Malawi, Africa, bringing track and field to Malawi, Africa. And so these are some of the people that I've worked with and enjoyed. Jackie Joyner Kersey, also another friend of mine. So these are people that continue to inspire me and to help me to grow and to bring some of these sports in different avenues, different, track and field to different countries, because we know the talent is here. And of course, like I said, Jamaica, we are #1 in terms of sprinting and track and field, and that's one of the sports that we grew up with. So I'm grateful to have rubbed elbows with a lot of these people, and so that's what I have to share with you. Thank you very much.
So the question was, what made us leave corporate? So I've always been a square peg in a round hole. All of my managers have said that I look at things differently. And that led to success in corporate, but not fulfillment. And so there was a moment in corporate America when I was the only African American and the only woman on the management team. And it was before Twitter, it was before Facebook. And I was hired to go across the country and really behind a silver glass and look at black and brown people talk about what they wanted for their futures. And so that was there. I realized that our perspective really matters and identity really matters, because I was able to see things that people could not see. And so I was able to use data and create a strategy that 2 financial organizations put about $200 million behind. And when I started to really realize how they saw what I saw, I started to see the outcome that they saw was totally different from the outcome that I saw. And I couldn't live with myself. And so my grandmother said that anything that is done can be undone. And so she said, use what you've learned, put the Bible in it, and put the people that you love. So I went to Egypt. I had a spiritual experience in the belly of a pyramid made in 5000 BC. And in that moment, I saw a flash of a narrow road, and it took me years to be able to write out the algorithm and collect the data. But I knew that there was no way that I could not do what my grandmother said. So torch stands for passing the torch, because the way forward is always back through. History does repeat itself. And so when we elevate our standard of business, we recognize our legacy, which is both inherited and earned. And so I've been blessed to go across the world, but 111 cities in America, really helping black people elevate the standard of business to wealth. And so while it's not the large corporations that I've advised and I've worked in the largest bank in the world, I've worked in the largest consulting firm in the world, collectively we are the largest in the world. And so my goal is to help us elevate our standard of business to wealth. The wealth as we define it, because our perspective is different, but our perspective is one of the original perspectives of the world. It's the most beautiful one I've ever seen, and I truly want it to be invested in everywhere we go.
Wow. So my next question is, they say that if we allow women to lead, that we could solve the world's problems in about 5 minutes. How do you feel about that?
I agree. Think about, I know there's going to be another topic on health later, but when you think about COVID and what happened during that time, if you check back with it through your Google and the history of this short period, and look at all the countries that were led by women, if you look at the ratio and how it was managed, it was the countries that were led by women that had the lowest infection rate and the recovery period for that. And it is always said, if you want to get something done, you tell it to a woman. We are the mothers that, I think most men have come to the conclusion of who runs the house and who leads the house. Even though we, the women, because we're so smart, we always know how to make the men feel powerful, right? But it's the woman that really does the work. It's the woman that raised the children. Why the men are gone out and doing the work the old traditional way. So I would say yes, we do make a difference. We don't just think with the books, but we are practical, and we see things. And they said we have a sixth sense that, I don't know, man, I'm not sure that you do have it. Sorry, but I think we have that intuition to lead. You have a seventh sense.
Okay, I don't have much to add to that. If we're talking about politics, I do think that women bring something extra to politics, because it is so much harder for a woman to progress in politics than a man, even now. And when I first became a member of parliament, out of 650 members of parliament, 650, there are only 21 women. Now there are many more now, but in order to progress and move forward in that environment, you have to be that much better than the men around you. And when I first became an MP, the leading woman in politics was someone that some of you will have heard of, Margaret Thatcher. Now, I didn't agree with much of what Margaret Thatcher believed in, but looking back now over 30 years, I can see that for her, as a woman, to become Prime Minister was really remarkable, because she wasn't anybody's girlfriend, she wasn't anybody's daughter, anybody's mother, she didn't have, contacts. She kind of drove forward on her own merits. And looking back now, I can see, even though I didn't agree with her, that was really remarkable, particularly in that time. And as you've heard, here in Jamaica we've had Portia Simpson, who again wasn't anybody's mother or daughter. She came forward on her own merits. And again now, we have Mia Motley in Barbados. And it gives me no pleasure as a Jamaican to say it's a Bajan that is talking about being a republic. I mean, Jamaica should have been out there. But Mia Motley is part of a new generation of Caribbean leadership. And she's very effective, she's very forceful, she's cutting through internationally, and she demonstrates. If you want someone to say something, you go to a man. If you want something done, you go to a woman.
We love you, man. Order in the house.
So I agree with everything that's been said. I'm going to add to it from two perspectives. One, my favorite degree is a master in systematic theology. And my professors encouraged me to study womanist theology. It's an answer to feminism, if you will, because it's inclusive of a black woman's perspective. And so I'm going to speak from that perspective, but I'm also going to speak, and to that I have to add biblically that, in 2 Timothy 2:11-15, it says that God did not give woman charge over a man, but she will be rewarded in childbirth. And so I have an initiative called Womb Work, because it's women owning the miracle of birth. We birth children, we birth communities, and we birth economies. 71% of financial decisions in the African American community are made by black women. And so if we are to have 1.3 trillion buying power in America, we are the CEOs. To that being said, because the question is, do I agree that women could make the decision in 5 minutes? For me, it's not just a matter of making the decision. Could we do it? Yes. Will we do it inclusive of our needs and wants? Research shows no. And so that's the research that I've been doing over the last couple of years to really identify, after interviewing 3,900 African American men and 3,100 African American women, and then an additional 3,500 African American women about wealth, what I have found. Men love you to life, but you look at everything through the lens of affordability first. And when you are loved and trusted, then you will start to think about desirability. But women, we look at everything through desirability first, affordability second, which means we fall in love with potential and we get sucker punched by reality. And so what I want us to do is to put ourselves first, because we need to live the fruits of our labor. We need to be able to see that and see what we're able to birth in terms of that economy. Last thing, a woman can't birth if a man can't seed. So while men, you live longer when you're married, women, you live longer when you're loved. And so as a result, my prayer is that women take full possession of their miracle to birth things, babies, communities, and businesses. But I want us to also recognize that the birthing requires us to first grow up ourselves.
So as you women have risen to the top of your game, you have really become outstanding in the world. You know, not just in your political career, but everybody knows about you, Honorable Diane Abbott, in Jamaica, in everywhere. You know, I mean, how do you feel you want to transfer what you have accomplished to the next generation?
As I said, when I was elected in 1987, I was the only black woman, and actually one of very few women, 21 out of 650. And I've lived to see many more women. I think at the last election, half of the MPs that were elected were women. And I've also lived to see more black women. In my own party, I think there are now 13 black women. And I think that, for me, one of the most important achievements is to have made it possible for many more women and many more black women to come to the fore in politics. And even though it was quite tough for me in those early years, I like to think it's not quite so tough for a generation coming forward. So yeah, if you ask me what I'm proudest of, it's seeing a new generation of black women coming through in British politics, which is quite a tough environment. And in fact, one of the new MPs that was elected in 2019, she's a London MP, she's a black woman, and as it happens, she worked for me for 10 years. So the legacy continues.
It's great. You know, for me, as I talk about my mother's daughter, but for me, what inspires me most, and I talk about, wish we had this room full with young people. I am very, very passionate about passing the baton or sharing. I was born here in Jamaica. I went to Toronto, grew up in Toronto, went to high school and nursing school there, was recruited to the United States as a registered nurse. But of course, you know, I am a businesswoman at heart, so went continuing to USC, where I got my degree in healthcare management and finance. And I wanted to use that to help others, because that's all I know. My mother, that's all I see her do. And so what I know how is to share. And I don't want others to experience some of the things that I went through living in the United States and becoming. So it is my goal and my desire to share everything that I know with anybody who wants to hear it, and the young generation, so they too can grow and achieve and become all that the Creator intended for them to be. So that is my goal.
Yeah. And you're doing it very well. I know you do it here in Jamaica, and I know you do it well in Africa, as well as in Los Angeles. And her series of clinics became so successful because she placed them in what? Now, you know, who would do that, right? Someone who absolutely gives back. And that community rewarded you significantly to be able to move on with your other entrepreneurial skills. So giving back is hugely important, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Marva, for saying that. I guess what she's trying to say, what I did as a nurse, I didn't like how black people or people of color were treated by physicians, and maternal child health was my specialty. And so I went into the inner city of East LA, where they said, you should never cross this street. I went across that street to save those people. And I was working so hard, I didn't realize how hard I was working, because I was enjoying every minute of it, giving back and watching the transformation and the care that I was giving to these people. So thank you for bringing that out. Thank you.
So I'm fourth generation Philadelphia. My great-grandfather was the first African-American to drive his horse and buggy down from Boston and have a storefront property. My grandmother was the first live-in maid, black live-in maid for Mayor Dilworth. And so I believe in legacy. And so the way that I was taught is that you have to grow where you're planted. So in Philadelphia, I stay there and I support the growth of businesses in Philadelphia. I also believe in the importance, as I said before, of wealth building for Black women. I mentor people across the country, and I'm proud to say in June I will be chair of the board of the first historically Black college, Bennett College.
Yes.
And I am committed that every single Bennett alum and current student will be a Black female wealth builder. I'm going to bring as many people as possible to the college to be able to teach about what does wealth look like for them, and how do they pursue it, and how do they pass it on for generations.
Wonderful. So I just want to, end here and say, is there anything that I should have asked you that I haven't, that you would like to share with us? And I think it's important. You've risen to the top of your game. You have passed it on. You have given back. And, as you said, I wish this room, and by the way, I'm going to segue for a moment. Everyone here in this room and who are at the beach, if you see them on the way, and in the spa, see them on the way, next year when this conference happens, it will return to its absolute glory, as it has always been. So you are charged with bringing several young people, each one bring one. That's how we win, each one bring one. Several young people next year, because this is information we want to share. And I think you agree with me that it's important information that we're sharing. So if there is one thing you'd like to leave this audience with, what would it be as a woman of influence and power?
What I would say is this. In any profession, as far as I know, and certainly in politics, it isn't always a smooth upward ride. Things will happen, and you may stumble, and you may think, I can't do this anymore. And I think the thing to remember is, even when life seems to be knocking you back, even when negative things happen, the most important thing is to pick yourself up and move forward. That is what I would say.
Yes.
Well, in closing, to my fellow panelists, it's truly an honor to sit here between you two ladies, phenomenal women. It's an honor. To my dear friend Marva Wordy, and my soon-to-be publisher of My Mother, My Champion.
Yes.
I thank you for the opportunity to be here today. To Mr. and Mrs. Rodney, thank you for your 28 years of giving back with this conference. I know this is not your only giving back. This is just one of them. And I hope that this legacy will live on way beyond you and beyond many of us here. And I pledge to you that I will do all I can to make sure that your legacy live on through this conference.
Yes.
And for all of you who have helped to make this conference possible, I say thank you. So as we draw the curtain on this exploration of resilience, innovation, and unyielding determination, I am reminded that greatness is not confined to the history book. It breathes in the very air that you and I breathe and share. The tapestry of these women's lives, woven with threads of ambition and courage, is a testament to the boundless potential within each and every one of us. So let their stories echo in your hearts, inspiring us to embrace challenges, champion change, and above all, recognize the transformative power we hold within.
Absolutely.
Let's acknowledge some of the men in the room today. We love and appreciate you. We appreciate your strength. And we and your understanding of accepting the things you cannot change and getting out our way. Just kidding. We love and appreciate you. We love and appreciate you. Okay, so as we leave this space, may the spirit of these women accompanying us, propelling us towards a future where every dream knows no boundary and every ambition find its voice. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the lives of our extraordinary women. Let their legacy live on, and let it be written with the same ink of courage and determination for all of us. Thank you very much.
I think what I want to leave is wealth is generational, okay? Generation 1 works hard and sets the foundation with hard work and determination, so that Generation 2 can build upon that hard work with advanced education and social networks, so that Generation 3 can now grow that with partnerships and additional education, so that Generation 4 can now expand that into a model that's outside of their cultural networks. Each one of us has inherited a generational perspective of wealth. Let's honor all 4. Let's own the one that we have, and let's aspire to elevate the standard of business to the next one. Men and women, black men and women, are so important, not just to our communities, but to our families, to our nation, and to our world. But we have to figure out a way to work together. I did a 100-year study of black women's movements, and I found 5 roadblocks. But the number one roadblock that really hurt me after the fact that black women, we need time to heal, is that we have yet to build a business model with our black men of how we will pursue solutions in our community together. We're often siloed and isolated. It is beautiful to see the Rodneys together, supporting and creating a conference together. I really want more black women and men to work together to identify opportunities and solutions in our community. God bless you.
I just wanted to add something around inspirational women. My parents are from Clarendon in Jamaica, a wonderful parish, a rural parish, and they both left school at 14, and they came to London. They were in the same village, Smithville, but they came to London and met each other and got married, and both their children did reasonably well. But I always remember going to Smithville for the first time with my mother. I would have been about 19, and we took the bus from Kingston to Smithville, and we spent, I think it was a week, with my mother's mother, my grandmother. Her name was Diana Dale, but everyone called her Miss Di. So we spent the week with Miss Di, and when we were getting ready to go back to Kingston, my mother and I were packing because we had to go and catch the bus to go back to Kingston. And Miss Di said, "Oh, can I help you with your luggage?" And we said, yes. And what she did, because we'd packed, I think, 2 suitcases, and she put the 2 suitcases on her head. She put them on her head, and she walked to the bus stop. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody as proud and as graceful as Miss Di in that moment. And any time I felt nervous or shy or overcome, I think of Miss Di, so elegant, so proud, so tall, and so fearless, and that has helped me through life.
Well, I think you'll all agree with me. It's a wonderful panel. I'm going to open it up for some questions, so we have a few minutes. I saw you. Is this about, okay. Okay. Hello, sir. I see you too. Oh, go ahead, sir.
Check. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone that's here, or good morning. I just want to say thank you very much for acknowledging us as men. Because sometimes they say they don't need us. So thank you very much, because it means a lot to us. Okay? Also want to throw the thanks back to you all for being here, because I'm sure it's not that you have to be here, but you wanted to be here. And so I really thank and appreciate you for being here. Not just you, but for all the men and women that spoke with you in this conference. Another thing that I would like to say, and I'm going to be very brief because I know we have to go, is that I heard a lot about transferring of wealth, and that sounds very good. But I'm very fortunate that I've had the chance to be in a room and to exchange thoughts and ask questions to folks that are wealthy and successful, who are known. But the question is, or the problem is, how many of our young people will have the chance to do that? How many will have the chance to meet Oprah and talk with Oprah? They don't. And some of us do. All right? So I'm asking, what is it that we can put together so that for us as the folks that meet all the time, and when you look around in the room, the younger folks are not there. Is it something that we're not doing enough so that they can be here with us? How can we create that channel so that they can walk in to get the wealth of information that we are going to transfer? And just one thing. Yesterday I spent 10 minutes speaking with these 3 younger ones right over there. And the only reason they are here to get this information is because they have a job to do. If not, they wouldn't be here. And for the past 25, 30 years, I've been hearing the same thing. Why are the young folks not in the room? They're not here. And the wealth of information, they're not getting it because they're out there doing something or listening to music. So how do we really mobilize them to do it, to have that happen? Thank you very much.
I have something to say. So I'm going to answer. I heard 2 questions in there. And first, I just want to clarify. Wealth is so much more than money. Okay? So when I say wealth, I don't mean financial wealth. The way that I teach it, financial wealth is 20% of the wealth equation. Everyone has 5 capitals. Human capital, which is how you get money, social capital, intellectual capital, spiritual capital, and cultural capital. So when you can put all those capitals together, you can create what wealth is, defined by you, which is a fulfilled life. Now, to address the young people, there's an amazing book that it's called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. With the young people that I have interviewed, they don't want to hear what we did. They want to hear how they can do it better. And oftentimes they don't hear that in this room. They hear the what, not the how. And they're looking to hear the how in a different way. We need this room. We need the connectivity. But these are children that were raised with text messages that were 100 and some odd characters. They were raised with virtual pandemics where they had to learn via Zoom. They don't have that. They don't think they have that need for connection the way we need that need for connection. So if we get them in the room, data has showed we can't get them out. But if we can't get them in the room, each and every single one of us has a wealth narrative that we can translate and share to them in the way that they need to hear it. Some folks may talk to me here and I won't hear it, but if my mama says it, I'll definitely hear it. So literally, everyone has a tongue that can speak a language to a particular segment of our community that needs to hear exactly what your heart wants everyone to hear.
Okay.
Just to respond quickly to that, I think in order to get young people to an event like this, you possibly need slightly younger people than us, people that they can relate to. That is what will, encourage them to come, and then they'll hear all of us and they'll learn something. The other thing I would say is, some of the most inspirational people may be within your own family. Because they are family members, you're a bit dismissive, oh, mum. But if you take my generation, it took something to leave rural Jamaica and come to London and make a life. And sometimes some of the most inspirational people are in your own family, but you need to step back and look at that.
Yeah. I'd like to add a little bit to what draws people, what it is that attract young people. And I work in a world, a political world, and what I found in my political world, and living in Los Angeles, where a lot of celebrities are, what I find is that celebrities are in love with politicians, and politicians are in love with celebrities. And young people, when we want to get young people out, we get some persons that we know they're in love with. So if we're having a conference like this and we really, really want to get the young people out, find out what they like and who they like. And if we can try to bring some of those people to these conferences, like a headliner of some sort, that's a way to get them out also. Because I think it's important. I haven't done a conference like this in a long time.
But she will be.
And so for me, being here kind of it gives me a little bit more inspiration. We need to get out. We need to get the young people out from the computer and the technology and behind the screen. We need to have the human touch again. That is really important. And so I would encourage, and if I can add my little bit to it moving forward, Mr. and Mrs. Rodney, I would say that, we get a headliner, somebody who everybody wants to see and come see. And that will help to get some of the young, because I think that human touch is important. We need to get it back. And not just behind the screen. Get the young people away from behind the screen and get them back to that human touch.
No questions
It's going to be
asked.
difficult, but it can be done.
No questions asked, and we absolutely have to do that because we know the way forward is the way back through. Yes, sir. And by the way, you're the wind beneath our wings.
Wonderful to hear that again. I want to offer a comment and a recommendation and then invite our presenters to reflect on an aspect which I'm delighted to hear Lorna and then Pam raise. The gender, the male dimension. There's a wonderful book written in 1957 by a Jamaican anthropologist called Edith Clarke. She wrote a book called My Mother Who Fathered Me, which described not only a phenomenon in Jamaica and the entire Caribbean, but for decades has represented the reality of the United States, where women are playing the role of both mother and father, which has led over time to an abandonment, to crisis among young males. And I want to recommend Carl and Faye that next year we need to have a conversation about how to help young males. Because not only is mothering and fathering being done by women, but there is also the absence of the role model of the male that can energize. A lot of the criminality in Jamaica and the Caribbean has to do with the absence of a male to help to correct the circumstances. Not that the mother can't whip them, but there is something that a male-inspired discipline engagement, there is no substitute for. So I want to recommend Faye and Carl, if they're not here, we need to have a conversation about the male and the crisis of young males. But I'm delighted that Lorna and Pam both raised the issue of males, because I'd like to ask you to reflect, each of you, not only who have been the women who inspired you, but what are some of the males who inspired you? Was it a father? Was it an uncle? Was it a grandfather? I'd like to hear you talk about the males in your journey.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that's a really, really important topic, and I think we certainly should have it next year. We have a young person who is in the room. Please let us hear from you.
All right. Morning, everyone.
She's behind you.
All right. I'll give you right after.
Let her speak, and then we'll hear from you, and then one more question. Yes.
So thank you. I just wanted to thank you all for all the words of wisdom. I just wanted to thank you all for all the words of wisdom that you shared today. My name is Alicia. I am a senior at NYU, and I'm also an intern with New York Carib News. And my question, and I'm also a black woman, of course. And so my question is, in your journey of becoming influential leaders, what were some of the significant challenges or bias that you face, particularly as black women in industries where black women are very underrepresented, and how did you overcome them?
So I was raised that black and white don't matter if you understand green, which is probably why I've worked in finance my entire life. And so it wasn't, I did not feel that I was racially segregated or impacted until I worked in New Orleans, to be honest. But I was able to overcome it because I was supposed to allocate the resources, and I understood how to underwrite the credit. What I will say is I didn't experience racism until I lived in Brazil. And when I lived in Brazil to study finance, that was when I was like, my God, you don't even know what I'm capable of, but because of how I look, you don't want me to be anywhere near you. And I couldn't understand it. And when I can't understand something, I have to go underneath it and try to figure it out. Like, what is the root and what is the fear? And that's what I found in Brazil. 80% of the people, right? So 20% of the people own 80% of the wealth. And so every person that they saw of color, they didn't even expect to even understand how they're seeing the world, how they expect the world to happen, and those type of things. That is why I believe that everyone needs to have a budget. You need to be very clear about the business of you. Not to just prove that you have what you have, but to be able to have a conversation that rises above any type of racial bias or any type of stigma. Because there is no place, just like there's no place that God is not, there is no place that business is not. Because all business does is exchange value. So please be about your business, and you'll be able to overcome any and all things that might get in your way, from my perspective.
Well, we're way over time, and I know this is an exciting panel. Yes, right? And I know there are other questions in the room, but we have to move on with the program right now. So I suggest to you that you catch these wonderful ladies in the hallway or in the seat next to you and ask the burning question that you have. Okay? And we also have the town hall session later on today, which is an open forum. So we thank you all for being here, and I see you. Okay, well, we have a town hall today, and, hold your questions for that. We will all be there, and we can answer them there, okay? Thank you so much for being here.
Let's hear it again. Please, let's hear it again. For this fantastic panel. What a wonderful presentation. Let's give them some love, as they say. And ladies, we are listening to you, and we certainly welcome your partnership as we go on this journey of putting the best minds together to look at some of our problems and to deliver solutions. Thank you so much. Wasn't that just wonderful and inspirational? Yes. And so we're going to move on to the next session, and Dr. Keys is going to come and guide us. And you might wonder why Dr. Keys. I tell you why. Dr. Keys, the former president of York College. She was acting president of 2 other colleges, so she knows how to get people organized, move inspired, and keep you on point. And so we're delighted for 40-odd years. Well, we've been childhood friends, family friends, and so she takes on these major tasks for us when we need them to be done. So Marcia, thank you very much. Before I turn over to Marcia, though, I want to take a personal privilege to recognize 2 colleagues in the room, 2 giants in the media business, and 2 who has made a tremendous contribution to black media in general, and to thinking of how we move forward. One is Jean Wells, and I Jean to stand. Those of you who might remember WLIB, which was a Caribbean station in New York for decades, Jean was the manager there, making it work in all kinds of magnificent ways, and now she is co-publisher of Positive Community. Jean, welcome. And she's been a giant in the media business. The next person that I'd like to recognize is a colleague, Tom Watkins. Tom Watkins is a publisher. He published the only black daily newspaper in New York, and some other 5 papers. Tom, you want to stand? Tom is one of the giants in the black media, and we're happy to have him here as a colleague. Marcia, I will turn it over to you